Well, welcome everyone. I'm Professor David Loertscher from the School of Information at San Jose State University in California. And it is my great pleasure today to introduce you to Darryl and Jenny Tourien from a very wonderful school, K-12 school in a very wonderful place. So, Darryl and Jenny, tell us about your school.
So thank you very much, David. I'll get us going. So my name is Darryl Tourien, and my wife Jenny. Both of us were teachers who became school librarians, and we've been at Blanchelande College in Guernsey in the Channel Islands since September 2021. And Blanchelande College is an independent Catholic day school for around 450 boys and girls from PK to 12.
Oh, that's wonderful. So you come to this school as and you want to introduce a program of inquiry into the curriculum of that school. How on earth did you get an opportunity to do that? And what is this idea of inquiry that you're trying to install into the curriculum?
So the Blanchelande College was looking for a librarian because when the principal who employed me took over from the school never had a grade 11 and 12, what we call sixth form, and it never had a library for the secondary school. And that was one of his priorities. So he was working with a colleague of mine who was running the school's library service to advise him on setting up a library and employing a school librarian. But I had developed FOSSIL, which stands for Framework of Skills for Inquiry Learning, which is based on the work of Barbara Stripling, as reflected in the Empire State Information Fluency Continuum. So as it turns out, I had spent quite a bit of time working through the first and the second edition of the IFLA and the IASL School Library Manifesto and Guidelines. And when they discuss the instructional program of the school library, they talk about that as being inquiry-centered. So an inquiry-centered instructional program that encompasses all five of the librarian's professional activities. So I've been wrestling with that since I first developed FOSSIL in 2010. So when I applied for the job of school librarian, I was well prepared for articulating a compelling role for the library in enabling the acquisition of subject knowledge through an inquiry stance and process. And then because we had been very disciplined about reflecting on our work in the FOSSIL Group website forum, we then had a substantial portfolio of examples that we could share with the principal, and he actually then appointed me as head of inquiry-based learning rather than as rather than as a conventional school librarian.
And I understand you have some slides you'd like to share with us.
Yes, my apologies. Sorry, that was the wrong slide I shared there. So that is just a picture of Blanchelande College on Guernsey. We are very fortunate to be in a very rural location. So that's the school. And then those are the 5 core instructional activities of the school librarian, which is literacy and reading promotion, media and information literacy, which can be developed through inquiry-based learning, technology integration, and then professional development for teachers.
Great. So can you give us some examples of what you've done across the grade levels?
So we started off by trying to embed signature work inquiry at different points in the curriculum. And the idea there is to have inquiries that run across the whole year group, across a number of subjects that take a substantial period of time and give us the opportunity to embed key skills at key points. So we have, on the left there, you can see we start off in kindergarten, and then we have something which is for us infants in grade 5, which is the end of juniors, and then later on in grade 8 and further on up. So these are our key inquiries that we are heavily involved in. But then alongside that, we have embedded inquiries that develop skills within subjects.
Sorry, if I can just mention there, so the point about the signature work inquiries, that was a strategic priority for us, was to establish at least one interdisciplinary signature work inquiry in each phase of the school. And that did 2 things. It enabled us to benchmark the systematic and progressive development of priority inquiry skills, but that then also provided a backbone for inquiry-based work in different grades as well as across different subjects.
So in terms of the signature works, the kindergarten is about why live on Guernsey, and it's a roughly 6-week project, and the idea is to connect the students with their island home, because actually we have quite a transient population. So some of those students will have lived there all their lives, but some of them will have just moved to the island, and it helps them to really integrate and to get to know where they live. So as part of the project, they visit 5 different locations around the island and just have a chance to observe, to enjoy, to find out why these places are special. They conduct surveys with parents and friends about what they are looking for when they go on holiday. They produce artwork, they make models, they do informational writing about these different areas, and then they make an exhibition. And we invite people, other teachers from the school, but also people from outside the school to the exhibition. The students sell tickets, they sell refreshments, that's part of their maths. And the work is published in a guide that last summer was distributed by the Tourist Information Centre. And that's part of the real world outcome that we think is really important for inquiries. In grade 6, we have a cool water inquiry, which is our most complicated, I think, inquiry in terms of the number of different subject departments it involves and the amount of time it runs over. So it's a 4-month project. It runs from January through to April, and it's centred on the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So the students start off by conducting a science experiment into conductors and insulators. They do some reading for information about conductors and insulators in English. They analyse their science data in maths and ICT. They write poetry about conductors and insulators. They design and make a water bottle cover in art and design. And then in the second half of the inquiry, they move into really focusing on those sustainable development goals, and they run a persuasive campaign, which can be about anything. They might be trying to buy toilets for countries which don't have any toilets, or they might be organising beach cleans or running competitions for younger students to get them to eat more healthily, all sorts of different things. And at the end, they have some sort of real world outcome. They have their water bottle cover to remind them of what they did, and they receive a UK National Science Award, and that involves English, science, art, computing, maths, and theology, so it's really quite complex.
I'm responsible for the grade 8 signature work inquiry, and in many ways, the grade 8 inquiry is important for us because it's an opportunity for me to develop theory and then to develop that theory in practice and refine the theory. So that I teach all of our grade 8 students 1 lesson a week for a whole year. That is centered on the UN Sustainable Development Goals. The main outcome for them of that is at the end of the year, they do a 5-minute oral presentation followed by a 5-minute Q&A session. And that is a compulsory component of their English language GCSE qualification. But because we've aligned work that we're doing for the signature work inquiry with work being done in other subjects, it also involves geography, history, and theology.
And then finally, an important part of my role is that I'm in charge of the projects qualifications in grades 9 and 11. And these are 1-year externally assessed inquiry-based qualifications, and grade 10 and 12, which is the point at which they get their results, are school leaving ages for us. So you can leave school at either of those ages. So these are school leaving qualifications which are assessed by exactly the same exam board as all the other school leaving qualifications, which gives them that kind of credentials. They're both 30-hour talk courses. I teach the whole course, but the students also do 30 hours at grade 9 or 90 hours at grade 11 of independent work themselves. And they can choose anything. So you really do find what students are passionate about. As long as it's research-based, they can do it. Their outcome can either be a written report. Grade 9, that would be 2,000 words. Grade 11, it would be 5,000 words. Or it can be an artifact. And the artifact really can be anything as long as it's research-based. So I've got a grade 11 student this year who is planning a molecular gastronomy tasting menu based on sustainable ingredients. I've got another one who's planting a kitchen garden for the school. I've got a grade 9 student building a drone, another grade 9 student who is making a website about ancient British history. So they can do anything. And the research reports as well can do show such a range of interests. So last year I had a student who in grade 9 who was really, really interested in aeroplanes. So he investigated whether Guernsey Airport should extend its runway, which is a really hot political topic here at the moment. And I have got a grade 11 student this year who's looking at whether the UN distinction between refugees and internally displaced people makes a real difference to people on the ground in terms of the support that those two different groups can receive. So it really just can be absolutely anything. They also deliver an assessed presentation, and they have to produce a formal log of their research, their inquiry process, which is an assessed part of the qualification. And that's actually really important because it makes them step through all the stages of inquiry and to think about what they're doing. So I think because the topics are real world topics and because the students are learning university level inquiry skills, it does put them ahead of a lot of their peers when they come to leave school.
That's absolutely wonderful. So over time, now you've been at this for a while, what difference do you see it has made in the school and the curriculum and the student learning?
We can certainly see it travelling up the school because we started at Blanchelande in September 2021, and the grade 5s are just hit that were there in our first cohort are just hitting grade 8. And I think Darryl would say the difference that you can see in the way they approach inquiry and the skills that they have is really lifted from having been through that grade 5 inquiry. I pick up the grade 9s from Darryl teaching them in grade 8, and I can see every year their skills are getting stronger and I can take them further because of the platform they're building on. And we're really excited because next September will be our first cohort of grade 11s who've come through the grade 8 signature work. And I'm really expecting that to be strongly lifted. just by that foundation they're building on. And then outside of those signature works, we can see that we're having a lot more conversations with classroom colleagues, and we have a lot more opportunities to build inquiry into the curriculum every year because they can see what's happening around them.
That's absolutely wonderful. So suppose an administrator would like to insert inquiry into the curriculum of their school. What kind of advice would you have for administrators and boards and those sorts of folks?
So if I could just make a reference to an extraordinary book that I came across about the Developing Inquiring Communities in Education project, which was initiated by Gordon Wells from the Ontario Institute for Studies in Education at the University of Toronto. And that project ran from 1991 to 2002. And reflecting in that book on 10 years of this project, which started off very narrowly, actually focused on science subjects, but over the course of the project grew to involve all subjects across all grades. So the two observations that Gordon Wells made was that in general terms, the force that drives the enacted curriculum must be a pervasive spirit of inquiry, and the dominant purpose of all activities must be an increase in understanding. So that is a whole school commitment from the top to that outcome. But then he also makes this crucial point. Each classroom is unique. So if classrooms are to become places where students are actively and enthusiastically attempting to construct answers to questions that are of real interest to them, rather than just simply going through the routines of doing school, teacher and students together must become a community of inquiry with respect to all aspects of the life of the classroom and all areas of the curriculum. So to sum that up, it is a commitment to a different way of thinking about and approaching what we do. And then it's a long obedience in the same direction because it has to happen all the way from the top and all the way from the bottom in individual classrooms between teachers and their students.
That is great advice from, not only Toronto, but also from your own experience. So as we sum this up, what is your bottom line as a team in your school?
So Jenny might have a slightly different take on this, but this is my take. I was fortunate enough to be able to track down a copy of Ruth Ann Davies's book, The School Library Media Program, Instructional Force for Excellence, which was published, sorry, that date on that slide is incorrect, was 1969. And she says that the library media program and the educational program are interdependent and inseparable. Therefore, perspective in viewing the function and role of the school library media program begins logically by building a historical understanding of education itself. So the key takeaway for me, or the bottom line, is that all of our progress over our years as teachers and then as teacher librarians is the consequence of being primarily concerned about education and then developing, as Jesse Shearer puts it, a theory of the role of the library in the student's intellectual experience. So our progress is down to the fact that our concern is not first and foremost about the library, it's about education. And then it's about the role of the library and the librarian in education, and then trusting that everything else works itself out from there.
And I think you tend to come top down philosophically, and I possibly tend to come bottom up. So I think for me, it's the focus is on building a library program, student by student and teacher by teacher, that you are looking to do the very best you can with the individual student in front of you and with the individual teacher that you can work with. And if you produce something special with that one student and that one teacher, then that flows out from there, and another teacher will be interested and another student will want to do more. So it's all bottom-up building.
Such incredible advice. You are absolutely world-class team and understand how the library fits into, giving opportunity to every young person across the school, and of course then across your island and across the UK and across Canada and the US and wherever. I want to express my real appreciation to both of you for just outstanding work, thinking, doing, and demonstrating what is really, really important. So I want to give you that thanks and say farewell, and we'll try to keep following up on the great things you're doing. So thank you.
And thank you for the opportunity to share with you.